All right, let's get started with the debate, guys. Let's get started with the debate.
Big Raj, what's going on, brother?
What's going on with you, Byron?
Nothing much, man. Glad to have you here. Tell the good people why we're here today, Big Raj.
We're definitely here to talk about, well, not talk about, but we're going to stream the debate. Just give me a quick second. We can get it cracking.
No bread, no water, just me.
Finish him, Daddy.
That's one big son of a bitch!
Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is.
For the world. But yes, welcome everybody to the Flex On podcast. We are live streaming and watching the 2024 presidential debate between Republican nominee and former President 45, Donald Trump, and Kamala Harris, current Vice President of the Democratic Party, the official nominee for president, coming up in November. This is the first and probably only debate between the two candidates taking place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania tonight. It will be 90 minutes. Muted mics when someone isn't talking. 90-second, I believe, time limit for each question. They'll talk about everything from border patrol to climate change to taxes to NATO, the war, whatever you want to talk about. Raj, you got your thoughts, man, because you wanted to be here tonight.
I got my thoughts, brother, but they're debating right now, so I got to pull it up. We can talk. I'll talk a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, do your thing. They're talking about. Oh yeah, go do your thing. Do your thing. I'm sorry. My bad.
So here we go.
Oh, we're able to do this. We're able to do this.
The people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions
your
and
boy's
insane
talking.
asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking
But yeah, tell the good
jobs
people
that are occupied
when you
right
get
now
done.
by
we're
African
here tonight.
Americans and Hispanics,
Yes, sir.
and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad.
This
but
guy.
It makes no difference. I have nothing to do.
Stupid.
Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible.
You did?
And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, will respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand.
Orioles just scored, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
That Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask you your response. You
eggs,
heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. When a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights, But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi,
For
exclamation
creating COVID in the
point.
lab? Is that what
When
you
we
think?
know that Xi was responsible for
I'm sorry.
lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you.
He's kicking.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the
Let us know your
pro-life
thoughts in the comment section.
president in
Sound
American
off.
history.
Hit the like button.
Then
Hit the
last month, you
subscribe
said
button.
that
Hit
your
the bell.
administration would
Vote
be
on the
great for
poll.
women and their
Super chat us your
reproductive
thoughts.
rights. In your
Stuff
home
like
state
that.
of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies. And that's
Did he
not
say
actually
you can
a
get it up to
surprising
9
fact.
months?
Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans.
Take a shot every
which
time
make
Trump
it
says I.
criminal
See how drunk you
for
get.
a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life.
Give me what I want.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women
Slap
who
him
want
again,
to carry
Kamala.
a pregnancy to
Slap him
term,
again.
suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care
Slap
in
him
an
again,
emergency
Tam.
room
She's slapping
because the
him off.
healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest
Oh my goodness.
being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe.
Yeah, I know me.
Student loans.
I'm
And then
dangerous.
I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just say yes or no, because your running mate, JD Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with JD. In all fairness, JD, and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and in asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs, barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you
could
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia.
Damn,
The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked
Well,
by
Queen Mia, we're
President
not really
Biden
saying
getting
anything.
to
We're
the
just
root
listening to
causes
the
of
debate.
migration
We'll
from Central
talk and
America.
take a
We know
breath, I
that
guess.
illegal border crossings reached a record high.
Is this
by
commercial free like
administration.
Raw?
This past June,
Yes, it is.
President
They
Biden
going in.
imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question
But
to you
Queen Mia, if
tonight
you want to
is,
join
why
us
did
and
the
give some
administration
commentary,
wait until
you're
6
more than
months
welcome.
before the election to
You're not
act?
allowed in this one.
And would you have
You're
done
not allowed.
anything differently from President Biden on
Maybe
this?
afterwards.
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand.
You gonna do
But
that?
what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
Ooh.
And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President
That was
Harris,
nice.
thank you.
I like
President Trump,
that.
on that point, I
like
want to
that.
get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill and successfully so that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the board?
First, let me respond to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
television. But the people are on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban.
Oh, who let the dogs? Who let the dogs?
Were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police.
Let us know how you
would
feel by voting on the
deport
poll.
11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe
input
that
in the
number
comment
is
section.
much
We welcome
higher.
everybody's opinion. We're
Take us
not
through
tied
this.
to one
What does
side.
this look like? Will
We're just
authorities be
here
going door to door in this country?
Let everyone find out
It is much
everything for
higher
themselves
because
and
of them.
decide who they would like
They
to
allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump.
And let's be clear. Where each person stands, what is the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony
Well, now that's
counts.
goofy.
So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris.
That's the
thank
case.
you.
Do it now.
Every
Do it
one
now.
of those cases
Kamala.
was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct. No, now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized.
President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not
issues
good
that
things
we
for the
have to get to.
environment.
We're
She
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an
For those
election
who
in
don't
just
know what
56
fracking
days.
is, fracking
And I
or
wanna talk about the
hydraulic
peaceful
fracturing is a
transfer
method
of power,
used to
which, of
extract
course, we all
oil
know is
and
a
natural
cornerstone of our
gas from
democracy
shale
and the
and
role
other
of the president
tight rock
in a
formation.
moment of crisis.
It involves drilling,
Mr. President, on January
casing,
6th, you told your
cement,
supporters to
fracking
march to the
fluid,
Capitol. You said
cracking,
you would be right
extraction.
there with them.
It's been
The
criticized for
country
its
and the
potential
world saw what played
environmental
out
and
at the
health
Capitol
risks,
that day. The
including water
officers coming
contamination,
under attack.
air pollution,
Aides in the West Wing
earthquakes.
say you watched
However,
it
some say
unfold on
that fracking has
television off
improved
the
air
Oval Office.
quality and the
You did
risks are
send out
manageable.
tweets, but it was more
It's
than
been a
2
major
hours
factor in
before
the
you
United
sent out
States'
that video
rise to the
message
top
telling
of
your
the world in
supporters to go
oil and
home.
natural gas
Is there
production.
anything you regret about what you did on that day?
So
You just
frack on,
said
people,
a
frack
thing
on.
that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
True.
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another
They
election.
will never be
Is
held
there
accountable.
anything you
That's the
regret
thing.
about what you did on that day? Yes or
I
no?
had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it.
Hannity.
If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you, because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they said
no
we didn't have
fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well,
Everybody in the
actually.
chat,
They had
please
no
hit the
money
subscribe
for
button, hit that
terror.
like button,
They
hit
were
that bell, let us
broke.
know your
Now
thoughts.
they're a rich nation.
Sound
And
off.
now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis. And
Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
they're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
And they just taking a commercial break now? Oh my God. Oh, have mercy.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue after this.
This is wild. Wow, they didn't went like a whole hour. Oh, they didn't went like a whole hour. Man. Well, they will be back, but this was fiery. This is extremely like crazy from what I've been watching. But you know what? I got to give props where props is due. Kamala came. She came with the heat tonight. She came with the heat tonight. I can't even front. She got it down packed. The Obama swag. She got the little hand gesture going when she was talking to Trump. I like it. I like it. I do. Byron, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I was gonna say we got a commercial. How you feeling so far?
I'm just telling the people, man. I mean, I ain't gonna front, man. Kamala's killing it right now. She's doing the thing. I mean, Trump is doing what he's supposed to do as well. Of course, he's been lying about some certain things as well too, but he's not completely wrong in what he's saying either. But I think Kamala, man, she might sway some people tonight. Like she actually really looks presidential out there. I can't even front. She doesn't look like a goof. She's not out there laughing and goofing off like she's done this entire campaign. You know, when Biden stepped down. So she's actually doing some good work out there. Oh, good brother Cravante.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cravante.
Biden stepped down. Brother, what do you think about this, man? What are your thoughts on this?
Wait, let me turn you down because you're talking on my TV. Hold on.
Jam. Oh, jam.
Right.
Well,
Right.
now that's goofy.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Mhm.
Just stupid.
A lot of that. I just want to applaud you guys for a phenomenal job that you guys are doing. I've been hearing the sound bites. They are on point and amazing. I was I probably started tuning in at probably around probably about an hour ago when I got off, and my gosh, you were alluding to what I was going to say. Vice President coming with the heat, yo. I ain't gonna hold you. She coming with the heat, and I think Trump knew that he did not want to go into a debate without he didn't want to go into a debate hasty. Like, because like before, remember they tried to get a debate in some time ago, and he was like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Once Vice President Harris was getting all the steam, and he was like, you know what? Nah, let it calm down. We'll deal with this mess when we need to. And I see why. I see why. The one thing I did hear Trump that he was like, I was like, yeah, he kind of right about that. That damn student loan mess. That student loan mess. And I was like, ugh. I kind of looked the other way because I was like, God, he got, and not to say he got Vice President Harris, he got the Democratic Party. He got him on that one, but he sounds goofy for the most part. Absolutely goofy for the absolute most part. But it's entertaining, but it's entertaining because of you guys. Okay, it's entertaining, not just because Trump is involved, but you guys are making this. You guys are doing a damn good job in bringing the extra entertainment and the extra sounds and the extra commentary. I've been trying to keep up with the chat going crazy.
Oh, we got the dogs in control. We got the dogs back.
I kept hearing dogs. I was like, oh my God.
Dogs.
Finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about.
But I told
something
you,
new for you.
I told you this was going to be fun to watch, man. I just had a feeling. Oh, they back on. Wait a minute. Hold up. Time out. It's commercial break over with.
Go ahead, Raj. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, let them know what to do if they in the chat, man. We got a lot of people.
New York, I'm Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this historic ABC News. Position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president, that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify the question. Do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done. Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in
like
this
beating.
moment.
I don't
but
give
also,
a fuck,
as Commander-in-Chief,
Keisha.
if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin? And would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier. And please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans,
now
a
that's
place
goofy.
where we honor the importance
Stupid.
of American
Just
diplomacy,
stupid.
where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role
She wanted
and
to say goofy.
responsibility
She wanted this
of the
goofy.
President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with
thank
the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black."
Google it.
I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice
Jam.
President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Oh, jam.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to Black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
you,
what
Mr.
her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
gonna
need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, let's just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of...
She made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change.
Thought this was supposed to be an hour
President
and a
Trump,
half.
with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call
Big shout
climate
out to
change an
everybody that has
existential
tuned in. We
threat.
have over
The question to you both
200
tonight is, what
people
would you
in the
do to
building.
fight climate change? And
Shout
Vice
out to all
President
you
Harris, we'll
guys.
start with you. 1 minute for you each.
No matter what
Well,
side
the
you
former
repping,
president has
who you
said
like,
that
don't
climate
like,
change is a hoax.
we're all here together, man.
And
So
what we
shout
know
out
is
to
that
you.
it is
You're the
very
real
real.
winners
You
here.
ask anyone who
Thank
lives
you.
in the state
Appreciate all
who
you guys. Big shout
experienced
out to
these
all you.
extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to
Make sure you
go.
hit that like
We
button.
know that we
Subscribe
can
if you
actually
new.
deal with this issue. The young people of
Donate to the
America
channel.
care
You want to
deeply
support
about
us?
this
You
issue.
can send in super
And I am
chats.
proud that as
We
vice
appreciate
president
any
over
and
the
all
last 4
donations.
years,
Cash
we have
App is down
invested
below
$1
in the
trillion
ticker. And you can
in a
also
clean
email
energy
us and follow
economy,
us on all
while
social
we
media.
have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
How you feeling, Roger and Cravante?
The ABC.
Wow. Things kind of getting heated.
Stupid. Just stupid. Well, now that's goofy.
Heated. But the
jam.
Yeah.
Oh, jam.
The goofiness has not the goofiness level has not gone down at all. It is continuing to continue. The whole healthcare thing, like, what? What are we talking about, yo? What are we really talking about? My man has no plan. He just said it. He has no plan. I got concepts. I got concepts, which will be in the near, you'll know the near future. Boy, if you don't have a plan, bro. You don't have a plan. Now he couldn't just up and say that, but you don't have a plan. So if there's a problem, if there is a problem with what's currently going on, we need solutions. We need solutions. If you don't have nothing better, then you have to work with what we got. Sounds like you ain't got nothing, baby. It sounds like you ain't got nothing. But this is wild, Rod. This is wild, yo.
He hasn't had nothing since he got elected in 2016. That's why he continued to keep using the Obama plan. So, man, this debate has been crazy, and you know what? I Kamala's doing her damn thing, man. I like I said before, she's been killing it this entire night. She's been on point. She's been hitting them with every. She even gave him the look when she said something crazy to her. She was like, "Excuse me, no, this is a lie." He was like, "Oh, yes, Byron." All those sound effects she's been giving them tonight.
Can you put that text message up real quick while we got a break? I know Roger on your Mac. I put in a group chat. Can you put that text message up by chance?
Just put it in the
group chat.
You talking about
this?
I
think Raj probably can put it up. Yeah, I don't know if you can put it up from your Mac on the actual share the screen, but I thought it was funny.
You can see it from right here.
Yes. At this point, are we even ready for a new president? I think we need time to heal before we get back out there again. Be by ourselves for a few years. Let's tweet it, Mike.
Agree.
But
we are getting to the last part, I believe, closing arguments.
Yeah, the closing statements.
Yes.
It hasn't came back yet, but when it comes back, I'll put it back on the screen. But like I said before, this is a cluster Franklin of epic proportions. I do like what some of Trump is saying. He's not completely wrong in his thoughts or what he's talking about. But Kamala is just like she came with the fire today, and I got to give her so much props because the last debate she was in, I forgot the lady's name. She got destroyed, and in this one, she's coming with a lot of facts. She's coming with a lot of heat. Now she might not be accurate on everything she's saying, but she has some things to back her statements up. But it's been a great debate tonight. A lot of goofiness, as Cravante would say, but has been very entertaining. And I'm enjoying this, man. I appreciate everybody in the chat who's tuned in with us. If you have not, please hit the like and subscribe button to our channel. We usually talk sports, but every now and again we talk politics as well, because this is a time of the country that you need to be informed of what's going on, and you need to actually know what's going on.
Also, Raj, just like sports, this is entertaining.
Yes. Yes. Very entertaining. So please, if you like what we're doing right now, please hit the like button. That's all we ask. We don't really ask for much. Just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate everybody that's tuning in, commenting in the chat. We got closing statements coming up. They be taking these long ass breaks though, man. This is a long break, man. This is an extremely long break, but hopefully this is not I guess 5 to 10 minutes more. Hopefully they've been going at it all night, and like I said before, this has been very entertaining. Very entertaining. What do you think, Byron? Oh, never mind.
Pennsylvania.
I think it's time for us to go back to the
David
closing
Muir,
arguments and
and
final
Lindsay
statements
Davis.
of the
Welcome back
2024
tonight. The
presidential
time has
debate.
come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris. we
Closing
begin.
statements.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
And that is the 2024 presidential debate between Democratic nominee Kamala Harris, current vice president, and former president, number 45, Donald Trump Wow, a lot to take in there. A lot of people in the building, in the chat, got things to say. Raj, I'm
Jesus.
gonna let you lead off, man. First of all, say what's up to all the beautiful, wonderful people in the building.
I thank everybody that came through, watch the debate with us today. Hopefully you stay. Hopefully you hit the like and subscribe button. Usually, like I said, we don't talk politics all the time, but every now and again we talk it. This is very important. We wanted to hear from both sides fairly, from Kamala's side and Donald Trump's side. I thought Kamala did an amazing job. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I thought she did a fantastic job tonight. I had a lot of questions. She answered a lot of those questions. She came off very presidential. Even her last address to the country, she looked directly into the camera and said what she was going to do for the country. That's always a good thing to do. And on top of that, she answered the question about fracking. She pretty much answered questions about her race, and she pushed back a lot on what Donald Trump was telling her, and she answered a lot of the questions tonight. So she did her thing. For Donald Trump, same thing. He did his thing as well, in his own way. We all know that Donald can, sometimes be a little bit goofy, but I thought he did an okay job. I thought his at the end at the end where he addressed everybody. I thought it was cool. He pretty much said what the other side isn't doing, what Biden and Kamala isn't doing, and he gave his reasons why as well. So I thought it came off really good. I thought Kamala won. I'm not gonna lie, Kamala did win this debate, but Donald Trump held his own, and it pretty much is going to come down to which candidate you like. If you like Kamala, this pretty much is going to force you to go out there and vote for her even more. If you like Trump, this might go out there and do the same. So I thought it was a great debate. A lot of pushback, a lot of people going crazy on the line. I've been looking through Facebook and Instagram and X. A lot of people been going crazy, man. And this was great. This was great tonight.
Go ahead, Cravante. I see Queen Mia's backstage. We'll get her up in a second, but go ahead, Cravante.
I just want to take the baton from Raj. If you like Trump and you're going to vote for Trump, you're going to continue. This debate did not sway you the other way. Same way if you felt like Vice President Harris is a better candidate, you weren't swayed away from that. The debate is really for the voters who are unsure, those who are in the middle, those who are on the fence. What topics mean the most to you in regards to the presidency, what they can do on a federal government level? What are the things that you hold near and dear to your heart, and who you want to represent you as the president of the United States, president of the free world? I agree with Raj. I think this was a pretty damn good debate, and I think Vice President Harris did some good things. I think she said a lot of good things. And for her to come in the game so late, this is a really good. This was a really good jab. Fact check us out the 9 minutes. For her to come in the game so late, this was a damn good, let's say mid round punch, mid-round jab to the face. She was tagging Trump. She was tagging him. So in a boxing match, this was probably about round 6, 7. You know what I'm saying? Like we passed the midway mark, and she getting some good punches in. And Trump is gonna be Trump. You know, what he was doing, his mannerisms, all that is exactly what I expected. Exactly what I expected. But again, Harris coming in the game late. She's making up ground. She's making up a lot of ground. I'll say that.
You're on mute, Byron.
Let's bring up the first lady of the Flex On podcast, Queen Mia. She watched the debate. She's Team Kamala. She's been riding with her. She has a lot to say, and we got to get the women's perspective. How are the ladies feeling after this debate? Queen Mia, say this up.
Hi. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody?
We good. We good. We good.
What are your thoughts, Queen? Since you've been in the chat being a menace to some people.
I was not a menace to anybody. I didn't say anything threatening ever. I didn't threaten anybody.
I know you didn't threaten nobody, but what are your thoughts?
Obviously, there's no like question about who won that. I think that it was extremely clever that the both of them literally like pivoted away from the topic of Israel versus Hamas, because since they're both capitalists, there's a lot of money in this for, you know, them continuing to support Israel. Like obviously, like we know capitalism runs the world, unfortunately. So we know that neither one of them are going to stop funding Israel to like complete, you know, the demolition of Gaza and the Palestinians. Like we know this. But I thought it was extremely clever how, since the both of them have officially decided that they don't care about what the American people are saying on this topic, neither one of them were like, we'll just stay on the issue. We'll just stay on the issue. Neither one of them wanted to answer it. So I thought that it was clever, but I think that it was also very telling by the way that they both pivoted away from it, that this officially shows where they stand on that. That was like a big issue for me because, you know, obviously I don't support genocide. But I thought that it was clever. I really wish that they would have answered it, but because I know that they are not going to stop supporting them, it was pretty much very telling. I think that if there was an Olympics for lying, Donald Trump would win a gold medal for it every time he competed. His team, like the reason why this debate took so long is because they needed to prepare him for Kamala. Also, Roger, why is it so hard for you to say her name right?
I did say her name right.
You did not. You have not said her name right one time.
Acknowledge me.
I said Kamala. I said Cam. I said the Ugandan nightmare. That's plenty of names for her. But
her name is Kamala, but yet you continue to call her Kamala. I don't understand.
That's why I say VP Harris. I just say because I've heard it so many different ways. VP Harris.
So I don't understand how, like, I don't understand how you keep, like, you know, not getting it. It's confusing to me because I'm just like, I know that you're not dumb.
I'm not either. I'm not dumb.
I know that. So I don't understand why you can't say her name right.
I did say her name. This ain't Breonna Taylor. I said her name. So go ahead.
Yeah. I really do wish that there was a live fact check like in the room with them, so that way we could focus on like what's being told, like the truth versus a lie, because the amount of things that like Trump lied about, I'm very, very, very like shocked that he's just allowed to do it, and there's no official person putting out the live facts like as it's being said, or there's no interruption. He's just allowed to lie. And then the way that they kept allowing him to like speak, especially when it wasn't his turn, I'm like, what the fuck is the purpose of the mute button if it's not going to be used when it's supposed to? He's only supposed to respond. He gets a rebuttal, and then he gets his own time to speak. The amount of times that he was throwing his tantrums and then they let him speak was so ridiculous to me. It like defeats the purpose of the mute button. He threw tantrums at the last debate. which is why he was able to speak. He threw tantrums at his 2016 debate, which is why he was allowed to speak. But here, we have mute buttons and the same thing still happens. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But yeah, I really do wish that there was a live fact check, because there are some people who are watching who genuinely don't know. They don't understand how politics work. They don't understand like the actual effects of the decisions that like they make. And the ones who like don't know but think they're going to get involved, or the ones who don't know but are actually going to go out and get a chance to vote in this election like for the first time, they probably could watch this and be like, Trump seems like the right guy. But when you don't know anything, you like when you're not educated on like how everything's like were affected and how things have played out since his presidency, like you're going to listen to the thing he says and you might think that they're true. And if you don't believe that whatever Kamala said in response or whatever Kamala said afterwards was better than what Trump said, you're going to believe it because you don't actually know the truth. So I think that a live fact check would have been very like beneficial, because I know and I understand, like I know that like he was literally just up there to try and really like be, I don't want to say be himself. I just really feel like he was just trying to keep up with her. So as long as he felt like he wasn't stuttering and he could keep up with her, then, you know, they felt like him and his team, they felt like they did their job. So to an uneducated person, you probably like, and you were like, you know, you don't know anything, like you're not leaning one way or another. To an uneducated person, you definitely are going to go vote for Trump. Well, not definitely, but if you liked what Trump was saying and then you're like, oh, like I'm going to go vote for him based on this debate. If you vote for Trump based on this debate, then you're just uneducated. And that's just like, it's just the facts. But I just really wish there was a live fact check. Obviously, we know that she won. There was really no debate about it. But yeah, I just really want like a live fact check. I really do. Because it's so asinine.
You'll get one after. Well, you'll get one probably soon. So
maybe. I heard that there were some fact checks on some things that people were watching, but it wasn't on PBS and it wasn't on ABC either. So it was just like, damn, maybe we'll get it.
But yeah, but but clearly, you know, you said that Kamala won tonight.
Exactly.
Right?
Look at you saying it wrong again.
Kamala.
Her name is Kamala.
Kamala. Cam.
Her name is Kamala.
VP Harris. I'm just gonna go with yeah. There you go. She is VP. So VP
Harris. That's it.
Like that's
what we're gonna do.
Better
VP
than like
Harris.
consistently mispronouncing her name. Like this, I just don't. It's so weird. It's weird.
It is what it is. It's been a long day. I had today has been a great day though. Today has been a great day. I'm so glad.
I had a great day too. Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad this happened. This is fantastic. When is the election in November? What? November 6th?
November 5th. It's a Monday. So get out and vote, people.
Well,
I mean, no, it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. Get out and vote, people. Find out where you're voting. You can go on your local county websites to find out where you're registered to vote. And if you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote so that you can know.
And again, if you have not subscribed to the Flex Zone podcast, please hit that like and subscribe button. We had plenty of fun tonight. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of debates. Well, not debates, but there's going to be a lot of people that got a lot of things to say on the internet. So I'm definitely going to catch a lot of those reactions, not only just from the Republicans, but also from the Democrats as well. But I don't know if they're going to do this again. I doubt it. This will probably be a one and done. But if it is a one and done, congrats to VP Harris. He is the victorious one. Trump, we'll see what happens, brother.
Cravante, I want to get your final thoughts, brother, before we get out of here, man.
This was entertaining. Like I said, thanks to my brothers, y'all made it just a little bit more entertaining with the sound bites. A lot of it was me, which is great. So I was like,
The stupid one is actually hilarious.
I said, wait, is that me? I was like, wait, I'm not even on. But it was great. I had a great time. Y'all know I don't like politics, but I tell you one thing: since 45 has been president, politics has been more and more entertaining. When Biden became president, it kind of went back, and I was like, damn, this is weird. But now Trump is back in the picture. Things are entertaining. Now, Queen, you're right. He be lying. That boy be lying. But my God, he know how to put his little spin on it. His goofy face. It's all. I see why.
I told you, if there was an Olympics, he'd have a gold medal. I told you.
I see why Raj, Byron, and to all the wrestling people out there, I see why you guys like wrestling so much. If it's like this, I see why you guys like wrestling so much. Because if they have a part 2, if when or who knows, they have a part 2, I will be there. I'm going to find a way to tune in, especially if we're doing a live stream. I have to, because this makes politics watchable. But listen, I'm here for it. VP Harris, you did your thing, girl. Like I said, coming out the gates late. You came out swinging, and Trump is gonna be Trump. I ain't expect Trump to lie down by no means, but Kamala Harris, VP Harris, yeah, did your thing.
The OTC has walked in the building. The tribal chief, the co-creator, along with this brother right here on the screen, Drizzy Dre, live from his place of employment, could have an iconic show without the icon himself, Drizzy Dre.
Hi, Dre.
Hey, Queen.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, good brother. Floor is yours.
First of all, Raj, is Kamala. I need you to say it with me.
I'm not gonna say it anymore. It's VP Harris.
We going back to elementary.
Is either gonna be the VP Harris or the Ugandan Nightmare.
We going to Kamala
VP Harris or the Ugandan Nightmare.
She's
Look,
not even.
I just need you to put some respect on her name. That's all, brother. That's all I need you to do. I saw y'all was about to close out. Clearly your man's lost. He got like Obama said at the DNC. He got unraveled. It's something about crowd sizes that he's so obsessed with, and that's what are you, Stephen A, with the fluid? Like you doing one of these? I don't know what
you said. Crowd sizes, so I'm just reenacting.
So that's I don't know why your man has an obsession with crowd sizes, but whatever this thing is, it's been that unraveled him tonight, and he lost this debate once that happened. I think she came out there like full throttle, like a boxing match. You love boxing. She came out there guns blazing, and he never recovered, I think. So just like we talked about how Biden lost the last debate and he didn't look the same, that's going to happen with 45. Clearly Kamala, she won hands down.
What you think about this one though, Dre?
What does that say?
Super Trump, he is America's fearless warrior and defender.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. Yo, people wild in the comments. The comments is crazy. The comments is wild, yo.
Listen, you know what it is? The Trump supporters, they never recovered from the bleach with the COVID vaccine. They never recovered. Look at them. They've never recovered.
Here you go choosing violence again.
They haven't. Look, you've seen them.
Look.
Get your people together.
I just don't understand how you can walk away from this and think that he won or did anything to sustain a vote.
I will say this.
Because they're not educated.
He might not have won the debate. I grant you that. He might have lost tonight. But he still made a lot of his points valid, even though he had to stress them a couple of times. And I thought that his closing statements were on point. So
What
think of
did
it
he
as
make, what did he make a valid
his
statement
closing
about?
statements, go ahead, Queen, go ahead.
I just wanted to know. I want to know, what did he make a valid statement about? Because he said so many different things, and as we don't have, live
fact
fact checks.
checkers. Fact checkers.
Yeah, I was wondering. Because I was legit waiting. I wanted to know if
the
this
point
would have
about
been
the border,
the time,
that was one point about.
What did he say though? What did he say though?
The point about them fighting in VP Harris, not changing things while they're in office right now.
Because they kept his border policies. They kept his border policies. So if there's something wrong with what they're doing, then that means there must have been something wrong with what he was doing, because they didn't change his border policies. They actually got stricter on the border, which is why most Bidens criticize it. They literally, that's their biggest problem, that he went tougher on the border, and that's not what they wanted.
They're a team though, and the team is failing.
She is not the president. However,
but she is a part of his team.
She's a part of the administration. I will agree. Yeah. But him saying that they opened up the border is a lie, because not only did they keep his border policies, but then they got stricter in some of his border policies. So how is that valid?
I want to know, how in the world did he think that the closing statements made any sense?
I just told you.
No, his statement, his closing statement was just him rattling off. He sounded like an angry old man at the end. At least she was competent in her closeout, like Mariano Rivera. This guy, he blew a save.
Well, of course you would use a Yankees pitcher in this.
I used the greatest closer of all time. Do you want me to use? Do you want me to use Batista from the Orioles then? Since we
no.
Because I'm about to say, you're a Red Sox fan, right?
I'm a Red Sox fan / somewhat Orioles fan. Somewhat. Even when they win. Because they don't win very often. It's been a while.
They're winning this season.
No, I'm talking about as far as my lifetime.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean that is. I mean, I think you've seen the Curse of the Bambino, right?
Clearly, yes. But they've won at least 3 or 4 of them since.
But no. In all seriousness, though. No, hands down, he proved tonight why he's unfit for presidency, and moving forward, we already know who our next president is going to be. Just accept it and believe it. All right.
Dre, any final thoughts? Let the people know about the show, man. Anything they need to do if they're watching right now. We had a lot of people in the building, Dre, with 500 people.
Yeah. Hey, America. Don't drink the orange Kool-Aid. Continue to tune into the Flex Zone. The only place that gives you sports how you want it, when you need it. We talk everything here. You see, we talk from sports to presidential debates. We do it all here because we do it for y'all. We entertain y'all. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. And of course, I mean, you see this. You see your boy.
Cream me, I'll give you your final word as well.
Yeah, we know that she won. It really was not a question whether or not of who was going to win. It was a question of how bad was she going to whoop him. And I hope that they don't have another one, because this was just, a waste of time. We didn't really need to see this because it was done. But I hope that they don't do another one. I'm just ready to vote at this point, so it could be over. Yeah, just maybe read some books, people. I don't really know what to tell y'all, but hope is lost for Trump supporters.
Queen, just tell them to read Project 2025. That's it.
No, they don't want to read that, because they're not. They all claim, he doesn't have anything to do with it, as he's at meetings, as the staff is literally the staff. Majority of the staff there is his old staff, but okay. Sir, we don't know anything about it. As he's at the meeting, you're speaking at the right. Okay. When she wins, I just would like to see some good things happen, and I think the good things will happen, especially because they do a good job at reaching across the aisle to the Republicans to get things done. So, yeah, I'm just ready. Everybody, make sure you're registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote. You can go to your local library, get on the internet for free, and do all the things you need to do so that way your vote can matter in this election.
Always appreciate your queen repping for the ladies. I'm gonna go to Raj last. Cravante, how you feeling, my brother? I know it's getting late, but thank you for rocking with us. I think we're gonna go live on election night. That's why I wanted to say Raj for last. I think we're gonna go live. You got CNN, you got Fox, you got MSNBC, you got NBC, but we will be live election night 2024. What's that? November 5th. We'll be live covering all the results from the battleground states, the electoral votes, and all the goofiness in between. Cravante, floor is yours.
I'm here for it. I think this is a good thing. This is a very, very good thing. Again, not a politics guy at all. Never claimed to be, but my gosh, politics has become more and more entertaining. The more as the years go on. So I'm here for it, especially if we could get a nice little piece of it. Like I said, you guys did an amazing job with the sound effects. Great. I don't know how much you was able to listen to, but it was entertaining. Very, very entertaining.
One thing you know about us, this whole brotherhood we got, we gonna entertain y'all for sure, and it's gonna be a lot of laughs.
That's right.
Nobody has better sound bites than the Flex Zone podcast. I'm willing to bet that.
So
anything else before I go to Raj?
So I'm here for it, and shoot, let's do the live for the election. Let's do it.
We'll be here. Raj, last but not least, brother. You wanted to do it, man. You hit a home run. Like, speaking of Yankees, the great Bambino, Babe Ruth, called your shot.
I told you this was probably gonna be worth doing it. So glad I did it. Glad I thought about it. Thank you everybody who tuned in. We appreciate all the views, all the subs. Appreciate everybody's comments. Queen Mia coming on. We love you all. We'll see you election night. And we'll see you on if you're a fan of sports or wrestling, we'll see you later on this week. So just stay tuned, hit the like and subscribe button, like I said before. Tune in for more. This is what we do.
Yes, the Flex Zone podcast. Only place giving sports how you want it, fellas.
When you need it.
Like having a show on back-to-back nights. We're usually live on Mondays. We are live tonight. We'll be live tomorrow. If you're into wrestling, like Rod said, we got AEW Dynamite. And this weekend, Friday, we have the season premiere of SmackDown on USA Network. If you watch the PLEs or pay-per-views, we're live for all of those and all major events as well. We do Ravens post-game shows on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, Wednesdays, whenever they play. And we recap the Ravens games. We got previews throughout the week, University of Maryland football. We talk Commanders, everything. Each and every sport, as you can see, and politics will be live again on election night because I don't think we'll get another debate. The Flex Zone Podcast will be here. The Flex Zone 1 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Flex Zone Podcast on TikTok. The Flex Zone 1 on Cash App. If you want to support us, you can super chat us as well. FlexZone1@gmail.com. Want to be a part of what we do here. And as always, throw your ones up. Acknowledge the Hit of the Sports Podcast table. Because we are the presidents of the podcast game. Not just in sports, but in all of podcasting. Because we are on another level. For Dre, the executive producer and founder, co-founder, Cravante, captain of the Goofy Ship, the Commandalorian, and last but not least, my boy, my brother, on the social media aspect, making things pristine, Big Raj. We just want to spread love, no matter what side you're on, right, left, in the middle, Democrat, Republican, wherever you're from. We love everybody. ELE, everybody love everybody, want everybody to be happy. But Queen Mia, we appreciate you. Everybody in the chat. Queen Mia, Leo was in the building. Shout out to Leo. Everybody, just thank you. KD, Denise, so many people. Miss Queen was here. All of our Flex Zone family. And if you're not part of the Flex Zone family, it costs you nothing. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Leave us a thumbs up. It costs you nothing. It lets YouTube know, hey, I like the Flex Zone podcast. Bless the YouTube algorithm gods on the Flex Zone so we can get out there to more people. And people who don't know about the show can see what we do and give you sports how you want to read it. We're putting the kids to bed. It's Tuesday going into Wednesday. Hope you're having a great week. NFL is back. We'll talk about it here on the channel throughout the week. Lots of content, interviews from my past guests on the channels. Something for everybody here on the Flex Zone podcast. We getting out of here, y'all. Peace. Good night. Hope you enjoyed the debate. We enjoyed each and every one of you. Thank you. Over 500 strong. Biggest live stream probably in the channel's history. So we out of here, y'all. Peace. Have a good night and great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for AEW and on Friday for SmackDown. Peace.
Acknowledge me. Whose house? Whose house? Finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about. Boy, if you don't get